Alrighty YouTube, it's your boy Zxous, and we're back with another Goddess of Victory Nikke video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over the September Pilgrim tier list. So obviously, I'm going to explain again in this video. What we do is, or what we're going to start doing from, I guess technically starting this month, but continue on from really October, is we're going to be ranking the characters in their manufacturing group, and with explanations in September, and then from October and so on, we're just going to be adding and switching around and all that stuff. So yeah, so this is the Pilgrim run. For what that $ means against some characters in these tier lists means the invested version. I do feel like some characters really are just better if they are invested. If not invested, or if it doesn't really matter, they won't have that. But I feel like really boss killers mainly will get those $, or just insane supports. So yeah, make sure you guys subscribe and like. Let's get into this now. So I think the Pilgrim class is literally just like, no question, the best class in the game, right? I think it's just a given that the tier list is kind of looking like this. They barely got characters, right? As of right now, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Pilgrims in the game, right? And 8 of them are summonable, right? So realistically, Pilgrims, like, no matter what you get, no matter what the tier are, they are pretty decent. Maybe the only one is Isabel, but she does have she has a use tune. We're going to talk about it when we get to her. So let's start off with Modernia. Obviously, Modernia is probably arguably the best scene in the game, right? It's between either her or Scarlet. I feel like Modernia has so much value for your account. She increases her attack, increases hit rate, actually stacks crit damage, and then she actually can have infinity bullets when you use her burst skill, and she does increase full burst time as well, so could be useful. Could hurt you as well, but could be very useful, right? Her damage is insane, and she's literally one of the best clearers in the game, right? I think for progression, even for bosses, right? Probably PvP is the only place that she doesn't shine insanely, but progression to bosses, she's like the best character, one of the best, if not the best character for those contents, right? Because her burst skill actually for 15 seconds is somewhat of a portable AoE, if that makes sense. So it's a big radius, and any enemy in that radius that appears on the screen will be recognized as one enemy, right? So that's quite insane. You don't actually have to aim it at the enemy. As long as the enemies are in that circle, they will be getting hit, which is quite insane for a character, right? And the fact that in that, you know, burst skill time, the bullets are unlimited, it kind of just shows how insane she is, right? But yeah, I would say the only place Modernia doesn't really shine is PvP, because in PvP, especially with like Noah and Jackal running around, you really want to run nuked comps, and that's where, you know, Scarlet actually shines, right? I think Scarlet is literally like Modernia, same thing, progression, same thing against bosses, but she is better in PvP than Modernia, so probably put Scarlet at the front there. Scarlet is easily the best nuker in PvP, I want to say. You use her burst skill and everybody vanishes. In content, she's one of the best characters because she is the hardest hitting character in the game. I think that's just a fact at this point in general, right? Overall, in general, she is easily the hardest hitting character in the game. There's a lot of characters who could hit harder than her or as hard as her if invested into, but like, it's, you know what I mean? If you have to invest into the character for them to hit as hard, if not harder than her, compared to her when she's not invested, it just shows her damage capabilities, right? But yeah, she's very, very good. I mean, even if she is fully invested, I think there are still some characters who can hit very hard, even harder than her, because of just how their kit works. For example, 2B in long content will most likely, Core 7 Overload gear with perfect stats will probably almost always have more numbers than Scarlet in long content, because that's just what 2B does, right? When her max HP with mass and stuff like that, it's quite insane, right? The only downside to Scarlet is that she loses HP. I didn't even talk about, she stacks attack too, up to like over 100% for herself. It's quite nasty. But what really hurts her for me is, well, not for me, but she loses HP and you need to have a healer with her. Is it that much of a problem? No, but you know, I can see why people would not like that. Rapunzel, easily best healer in the game, right? I know maybe one of you guys are thinking noise. No, Rapunzel's the most best healer in the game. She is probably the most, actually she is the only most consistent healer in the game. This character who comes very close to her in consistency is Pepper, and that's if you're manually using Pepper, right? Because how Pepper works is she reloads 3 times in sequence. So it'll be 3 or 1, and that gives you 3 bullets. 2 gives you 6 bullets. 3 gives you 9 bullets. So by manually using her after the first reload sequence, if you click on the screen, you just have 3 bullets, and she's able to spam to 1 character. The thing is, Rapunzel actually heals 3 allies out of 5 every full charge, which is insane, right? She also revives characters, and then also increases max HP and HP potency to attackers. So she's a very good support overall, easily best healer in the game. I think it's just a staple. She's like kind of a staple in all content, right? She's really just SS everywhere, early, late, PvP, and she's a rocket launcher too, so burst generation is there for sure. Dorothy is an SS as well. She's a character who's really an SS because she leeches off other characters, right? So Dorothy is a character who does insane damage, but the reason why she does insane damage is because she puts essentially a debuff, I want to call it, the brand effect on an enemy, and when everybody on your team is attacking into that character with the brand effect, it's going to accumulate the damage that was done, and then after a certain amount of time, which is 10 seconds, the damage that was accumulated will be put out again. So let's say in the 10 seconds I did 2 million, it would double to 4 million because the damage, was 2 million was accumulated on top of the 2 million you did was 2 million flat, and then because we were collecting it, we do an additional 2 million. Quite crazy from Dorothy. Right. Heron is a great character for PvP. She is also a nuker as well, and also PvE. Against bosses, I don't really think she's all that crazy personally, but there's no question she's one of the best characters to start your account off with, especially with the virus transfer mechanic, right? She basically puts a debuff on enemies that just removes their HP, and if she ends up killing those enemies, it will just literally transfer. So it's very good for quick clearing in early game, and even a bit of late game. I don't think she's all that crazy late game, honestly, but a bit of late game it can work. But realistically, perfection early game, very good in PvP. Late game has her usage. She still works mob clearing. I really just want to say bosses is where I don't really find her that useful, and like many players don't really find her that useful. Now, Snow White invested. I feel like Snow White's a good character, but I feel like you're only using Snow White realistically for her burst skill. And for her burst skill, you kind of want her invested. You want overload gear. You want high levels, because I believe actually at level 1, her burst skill is like 100%. And then it goes up to 500%. The 124 at level 1. At level 10, it's 500% on top of guaranteed 1000% charge damage, right? So yeah, and she has the pierce effect. I didn't mention it as well, but Heron also has the pierce effects. I believe, yeah, Heron does have the pierce effect as well, right? I think I might be getting her confused with Nylister. No, she does have the pierce effect when what's it called? You enter full charge, and she stacks attack as well for every enemy she kills. Didn't mention that, but it is true. But yeah, Snow White, you're really only going to be using her for boss killing realistically. Besides that, don't really think you're going to be using her anywhere else besides just boss killing. But yeah, her invested just nukes bosses clearly. Her non-invested is an A, maybe like a low B, but I'll put her in A tier. We just went over her, so yeah, her main thing is just boss killing. She's good without investments too, but she's kind of like Alice. You just want to invest into her. Nylister, it's a bit iffy for this character, because Nylister is a free character, right? This is a free character. She just takes very long to get. You have to be chapter 2031 in story, and you have to own a past liberation character. Not only that, it's when you do get there, you have to wait like a maximum of 90 days. If you're like doing it every day, a maximum of 90 days to get her. I want to say minimum, depending on how much you reroll for the missions. It depends on how early you can get her, but minimum or maximum is 90 days. And it's like, she's not that crazy, right? Her damage isn't that crazy for a burst 2. The only thing that's really good about her is she's the only burst 2 20-second pilgrim. 20-second cooldown pilgrim in the game, right? So she has the same value there, but her damage isn't that crazy for a burst 2. She does have the pierce effect, and I believe she does increase pierce radius as well, but realistically, not that good, right? In PvP, could be okay, right? Realistically, if she has the pierce effect and the pierce radius increases, she's a sniper, right? That means her burst generation should be very good. I've never actually tested Nylister in PvP, so what I'm saying probably just doesn't even make sense to a lot of people. Maybe it's just silly at all, but realistically, if she's a sniper with Pierce and has Pierce radius increase, she should have great burst generation. She actually does, realistically. I've tested her in Tower, Pilgrim Tower. She does have good burst generation there, so yeah. Noah, great defender in the game, probably the best like tank in the game, or not taunter, best tank in the game. She's really just used for PvP though, that's the thing. She can work outside of PvP, but she's really like one of the best PvP characters, and that's all that you got going for her, right? In PvP, she's really annoying though, really annoying, because when you use her burst skill, especially if everyone's running the nuke comp, when you use her burst skill specifically, all allies are invincible, right? All allies are invincible, and she gives well over like 100 defense, right? 100% defense. Yeah, over 133% defense, anti-taunts, right? Lowers attack when she uses a full charge, and also taunts. Very, very nasty character. Very nasty character in PvP, but besides that, not really working out. Now, Isabel, she's okay. Probably the worst Pilgrim in the game. It's either between her and Nylister, realistically. But the thing about Isabel is, to get her full potential, you have to use her burst skill 3 times, specifically, and her being on a 40-second cooldown, it's just not really worth it, especially since she doesn't do real damage. She has great effects, but her numbers are just not good enough, right? What is it? Attack buff for herself, crit damage buff, crit rate buff for herself when you use her burst skill, right? And she does deal good damage as well, right? Damage taken to all enemies for 5 seconds, kind of like Blancs, but Blancs is 10 seconds, and it's on a 20-second cooldown when paired up with Noir. The only thing is she does decrease full-time burst for 5 seconds, right? So could be useful there, but realistically, she has great effects, just takes long to get there, and even when you do get there, damage isn't that great. So realistically, worst Pilgrim in the game. I think that's just a fact. But yeah, I think the Pilgrim tier list is really just like so easy to make, because it's like you really just know who's good and who's not good, right? I think Noah is a great character just in PvP. I think Nylister is very unique, since she's the only 20-second burst 2 Pilgrim in the game. Obviously, Snow White, insane boss killer, one of the best, if not the best. Her run is great for early game, but besides that, not really much. So make sure you guys subscribe, like, I'm out. Peace.